I can say more than all they did was sit around and talk. Okay?
She does all of George's work for him, I think.
His homework.
Yeah, his homework. Well, it's great to have everybody here at our Resident Advisory Committee meeting, and particularly to have people here in person for a change. Last time, of course, in August, we suddenly had this COVID outbreak, and we had to do it by Zoom. So it's great to have everybody here. Let's start with a prayer. Lord, we give thanks for this day and ask your guidance as we endeavor to do your work for the Whitestone community. Thank you for the board of directors, which has been so supportive during the difficult days of the pandemic and the long process of expansion of our campus. Thank you also for hard-working committee chairs and staff members who make so much possible. We ask your blessing as we move forward. In your name, amen. So as I was saying, it's great to have people here in person. It seemed like we were in the pandemic Zoom phase for a long time. And we're glad to have you here to have the resident council, what the resident council is doing to further the work at Whitestone. As usual, our committee chairs have been working hard to improve life on campus. There's been much going on with campus since we basically reopened, despite the little pause in August. And we welcome our chairperson right here. Yeah.
Jane.
Now you have to say his name.
This is for you. They told me you sat here. I'm a messenger.
Sorry for the confusion.
Well, we're glad you got here. Anyway, with all the reopening, there have been activities, meetings, speakers, trips off campus. It's been very exciting after I came here right in the middle of the pandemic, and so for a long time I didn't know anything ever went on here. And now look at everything that's happening. The imminent completion of our independent living building, an assisted living building, also is going to present some challenges that the various committees are considering along with the staff members. In addition, there have been discussions about security, internet and cable service, and how we can interface with the health services staff to improve services to residents and the Care and Wellness Center. You'll hear more about all that in a moment. We'll hear from our committee chairs in a moment, but first, Mark is going to review the August board minutes, the August board meeting minutes.
Yeah, thank you, Don. The Board of Directors of the Masonic and Eastern Star Home of North Carolina Incorporated convened its regular session at 9 a.m. on Saturday, August 13th. The meeting was held virtually due to the implementation of COVID-19 safety protocol on the Whitestone campus. Chairman Mr. Gene Jernigan called the meeting to order at 9 a.m. A quorum was present. Following the minutes from the May 14th board meeting being accepted, Mr. Mark Lewis provided a brief update on the impact of COVID-19 at Whitestone. The committee reports started with a report from Long Range Planning. Mr. Joey Transu, chair of the Long Range Planning Committee, introduced Marie Dunn for an update on sales, followed by an update from Mr. Jeff Lauck of Life Care Services Development on the construction. Mr. Kevin Fraser, chairman of the Finance Committee, introduced Nikki Stafford, director of Financial Services, to report on community finances through the end of June 30. That was followed by a charity committee report by Mr. Mark Lewis. Through June 2022, our charity had totaled $586,175. Mr. George Merritt of the North Carolina Masonic Foundation next provided an update on, I'm sorry, that's incorrect. Mr. Chris Richardson, Director of Development of the North Carolina Masonic Foundation, provided an update for the board. This was followed by resident communication, one from Mr. Don McCrickard, our resident council president. The management reports then followed by Mr. Pierce Carey, Health Center Administrator, Ms. Tracy Armwood, Director of Human Resources, Mr. Davis Bennett, Director of Plant Operations, and then Mr. Mark Collada of Life Care Services was introduced to provide an update to the board. That concludes my brief summary of the minutes for August.
Thank you for your brief summary. Is this still on?
Oh, yes.
That's on. Okay. Now we will hear from each of our committee chairs, and I've asked them to be brief. Marketing Hospitality, Joanne Cox.
You want me to?
Please.
What? Oh, do you have one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Can you hear?
Yeah.
Okay, and thank you.
Okay, the marketing committee. We have 17 members currently, and our main function is to mentor our new residents by assisting them in their adjustment to life in a retirement community. So we try to introduce them to other residents and to assist them in ways to finding their way around Whitestone, which with the different hallways can be quite confusing at first. So we try also to introduce them into activities which will suit their interests. In addition, the committee members assist the marketing staff in their work with the prospective residents by meeting the new prospects, taking them to dinner, and any other way we can. We're getting ready to start a membership drive for the committee in anticipation of the influx of new residents with our opening of our new residents' apartments. The major new activity comes not from the committee but from the marketing staff, and that is each month a new resident orientation is held, and briefings are given by different members of the staff on their different functions and the way to access their services. So upcoming events are November the 15th, which is a prospective buyer brunch and hard hat tour. On December the 7th is a holiday party for residents, upcoming residents and prospective buyers. And then at the end of the year, there will have an open house for current prospects and prospective buyers, which they have introduced ourselves through our active database. The committee members will be assisting in all of these events. Thank you.
Thank you, Joanne. The next one is Campus Care Alliance, Chair Sarah Hester.
Linda.
All right, I'll speak up. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Some of you will remember back in 1959, a little song that was, that received an Academy Award. It was recorded by Frank Sinatra, and it goes like this, and I'm not gonna sing it.
Oh, come on.
Just what makes that little old ant think he can move that rubber tree plant? Anyone knows an ant can't move a rubber tree plant, but he's got high hopes. And it goes on through the song, and finally the last verse says, oops, there goes another rubber tree plant. Well, as the chairman of your Campus Care Alliance Committee, this is my rubber tree plant. This is a sheet of paper that contains 4 goals, and the date on it is October the 19th, 2021. But I have high hopes because this is not going away. This continues to surface, and we continue to work towards these goals. Our committee continues to act as an interface between residents and all of the healthcare services here on campus, with emphasis on communication and quality of care. As you know, there is a history here that has left an imprint in the minds of some of our long-term residents, and we are working diligently to substitute new positive experiences and strong relationships among the residents and the healthcare staff. Both staff and residents bring their expectations to our meetings, and we deliberate, and we're developing a better understanding of what is expected and what is achievable. There have been some disruptions in the process, namely COVID. That was a major disruption. Secondly, we were challenged as a committee to define the purpose and the function of the committee, because we were undergoing a major innovation in the resident bylaws. And so that took some time, and it took some hide off Joanne Cox to do that. But we are now officially established in the bylaws as a functioning committee. Currently, this committee is very interested in the establishment of a formal advocacy system, the role of someone whose main concern is being the vehicle for problem identification and resolution. A point person whose job is determining patients' daily experience with the services they're provided and helping patients and families when difficulties occur. So we continue to bring that to the table for deliberation. One of the things we're involved in right now is our resident members are interviewing residents who have been discharged from the Care and Wellness Center. We have found that if we simply ask a couple of questions and open the door for conversation, they are very willing to share. Some of the positive things they've reported to us are the beautifully renovated facility. They are thrilled to be in a new, beautiful environment. They are very positive about rehab services. They are impressed with Brooke Shaw, our nurse practitioner from Randolph Primary Care, and we have a new nurse practitioner on board now whom I have not met, but look forward to meeting Kristen Bradley. I think well, in addition to the advocacy role, we are also working to introduce a more service-oriented care philosophy as versus a task-oriented care philosophy. And so that's going to take some real coordination with staff. And I think we found that Pierce has been a real advocate for the things that we've brought to the table. He's been receptive, he's been cooperative, and we appreciate having strong leadership down there to work with. So thank you, Pierce. That's my report.
Thank you, Sarah. Next, we will have food and beverage with our own George Troxler.
Yeah, all right.
There you go, George.
I don't need that.
It's on.
Is this better?
Yes.
Okay. All right, Food and Beverage Committee, we met yesterday. We normally have a good meeting with a lot of attendance. My committee easily attracts new people. Two of our new residents, Craig Wassoff and Louise Wassoff, told me yesterday they want to join because my committee's fun. It's also, my committee's the only one that has donuts. Some of the things that we came up with in this committee, the bistro, which is here, which is a small snack place that we have here, it's going to be closed down for renovations as soon as they get a commitment from the contractor, and hopefully that's going to be within the next month. The bistro, when it does shut down, will be closed for 3 to 4 weeks. They're replacing cabinets and some other things in that area to make it look nicer than it does right now. During that time, the residents aren't gonna lose anything in terms of far as what they get at the bistro, because they can order whatever sandwiches that they have been doing in the bistro by going to the dining room, so they're not gonna miss out on anything. When the bistro reopens, there's gonna be new hours that they're gonna set up, and also a new menu. So that's something I think everybody should look forward to. We also discussed that we're looking at the idea of having a breakfast buffet one day a week, where you can come in and order whatever you'd like for breakfast, omelets, French toast, whatever. We're gonna try to start it off by doing it on a Friday from like 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. And that will not happen probably till about the first of the year. As far as our dining room staff, they do an excellent job. And they work very hard, very long hours. And we've also have hired enough staff members now where I think we're up to the limit of our budget. Isn't that correct?
Correct.
A new person named Stephen Coates, who is actually a former executive chef, is coming to work for us, if he's not already here soon, as a full-time line cook. So we'll have all the cooks that we need in the back part of the place. We have 2 new servers who are going to be coming on board soon. One of the things that we've looked at in the Food and Beverage Committee is there's a need for people who are either vegetarian or would like to have different diet additions to their menu. And the staff has been very good about providing that when it's needed. So we've told everybody that if they want a vegetarian diet or they want fish or something else, let the server know, and they'll do everything they can to make sure that happens. They talked about the big Thanksgiving dinner, which is coming up soon. Anyone who wants to attend that needs to turn in their request to have a seat, because it's gonna be crowded. It's also gonna be a very lavish event with lots of everything that any fine dining restaurant would be proud of. Some of the suggestions that came up during our meeting was that we have a special dinner each month. Right now, what we do during a month is we'll set aside one day to have like a taco night or a taco day, another one for Asian food. So somebody suggested we try to come up with other special dinners, and we do that once a month as a way to attract people in there. It was also suggested that we set up a fruit tray in the dessert bar. We have probably the best person I know of in Basima who does our desserts here. She has her own catering business, but she does fantastic desserts. But we have people ask that her desserts are so good, they want fruit, so they can get something they're supposed to be eating. So we're gonna be doing that also. And that's about it. That's all that's going on with that committee. Any questions? Yeah, okay,
Thank you, George. Thank you, George. Of course, Fatima says her favorite snack is Snickers. So we had a little trouble buying into that, but anyway. Building, grounds, and environmental. Gene?
Okay.
Gene Llewellyn.
Don? Okay, Building, Grounds, or Environmental Services Committee, you can just look around and see so much of the activities that's going on that we don't have a direct hand in, but we get all sorts of questions about them. The most recent one, I think some of you may have seen the enormous crane that was on site, I think yesterday, and that was one giant of a crane, I'll tell you. But and it was sitting the air conditioners on top of the building. Well, I think when I got in the dining room, one of the residents right off the bat said, they said there wasn't gonna be any air conditioners on top of the building. Well, where else you gonna put them? I mean, who told her that? I mean, that's the kind of things you run into, you know, and you just have to, in any case, when the folks get moved in there and the air conditioners are up there, they're gonna be happy that they were up there, I'm sure. We still try to get, as trivial as it might seem, but as important as it really is, we still try to get people to use the Works Hub and do work orders if they need something done. I mean, that is the simplest way to get something done and get it done quickly. As opposed to, although anybody wants to call me and request something, I'll do everything I can to try to make it happen. But the best thing to do is to put in a work order. Davis and his people check those things daily. I think our board chair also checks them from time to time to see how many we've got and how many has been done. So, but that is a very effective tool. And some of the folks that live on Freemasons and down along, that runs parallel with Spring Garden, have noticed that they now have a new privacy screen along the fence where a lot of the shrubs and undergrowth and that sort of thing were cleaned out because the residents wanted it cleaned out. And then when we got it cleaned out, oh, that's not enough privacy. So Davis has been in the process of getting a nice privacy screen put on that fence over there. Has it been completed from the gate on down?
No.
Okay, it hadn't got quite, we still, I think Davis has got material order to finish it from the gate on down to the corner, so that's good for that. And there's been some requests for some additional, we have some nice benches around campus. Of course, they're not gonna be used much longer anyway because of the weather, but they've got in bad repair or just need painting and that sort of thing. As trivial as it may seem, that is very important to us from a cosmetic standpoint and a comfort standpoint as well. So we try to address that sort of thing when it's brought to our attention as well. And there's not a lot more that I can add. I know I've got a note on my report here about the single digits. I think that's already been touched on, and some real efforts are being put forth by Bob and Mark toward getting our single digits equipment and so forth updated, and so that we get better reception and we stop having to drop signals and that sort of thing. But and that about covers it, Mr. President.
Okay, any questions for Gene? Thank you, Gene. Next, residential services, Pat Hahn.
Can you hear me in the back?
Your water
Good, I
bottle.
don't need the microphone.
Try this one.
Mark's got a timer over here.
You're already
It
20
said on
seconds.
2 minutes, he said, you've already used 20 seconds, so here we go. Our committee is focused on 3 different things primarily. Security, updating the Sarah alert system, that's this button that all of us wear, and by the way, it works, and technology. Gene talked a bit about technology being updated. We, the Whitestone arranged for a meeting of all residents who are interested to come and hear about technology this past Monday. If they weren't there, too bad. Yeah, that's the way I feel about it. And I'm not speaking on behalf of the committee on that one. I'm saying you had the opportunity to come and see how it's going to be updated and what's going to be different and how much more you're going to appreciate it. And if you didn't show up, sorry.
You sound like a professor.
I wonder where that comes from. So, probably the most time that we've spent on anything in the past 60 days has been the removal of the brush from around the fences. I thought that the residents were going to come burning watermelon in my front yard. When that happened, I mean, it was like the world just ended. And I have to tell you that with the removal of the brush, we do have more exposure to the travel up and down Spring Garden. So Mark jumped right on that and put a drape up that's over 3/4 of it right now. And then there'll be a little bit more that'll come on, and then that's going to leave the lot that was cleaned up next to us, which I'll call it the church lot, because I believe there was a church there.
Yes.
It was cleaned up, and now our next door neighbors are Crazy Tires. That's the name of the place.
Yep.
Crazy Tires. They sell used tires.
They party a lot too.
Yeah, they do party.
They also breed mosquitoes.
Donna, that noise you hear isn't coming from the courtyard, it's coming from Crazy Tires. So, we have, we as committee chairs make recommendations to management, and management chooses to do with it whatever they will. If it's going to improve Whitestone, one could assume that it goes on a list somewhere. And then that list is prioritized by management and has a budget item attached to it. And therefore it determines when those particular priorities are going to be addressed. One of them that is, how do I go throw it out there? One of the things that's needed is the fencing around the former church lot. We know that from management that that's going to cost $20,000 to $25,000. Well, what we're asking is that that be given a priority. And the reason is right now we're open to Spring Garden. The only thing between Whitestone and people walking down the street and becoming curious is a barbed wire fence that I've said it somewhat facetiously that even I could jump. And but that's being addressed, and it's going to be strengthened in there. We're just saying, go along with the wooden fence down Spring Garden as soon as it can be worked into the budget, and make it look like everything else. Let's see. Any questions?
Good report.
And I have, I used 26 seconds, more than I was supposed to.
I have one thing to put in. We had one of our residents who was sitting on the park bench in the dog park, and she was sitting there with her dogs playing around, and she heard a voice behind her saying, "Hey, how you doing?" And she discovered a guy who was standing at the fence off of Spring Garden, right there at the fence where the gate is. He wanted to know what the number was to get into the lock on the fence. So that we do really seriously need some things done about security, because that disturbed her to some extent.
At the same time we talk about security, understand that there have been human beings added to the security force on campus.
Now.
Right,
Thank
okay, thanks very much, Pat. Next, the activity committee, which works closely with community life services, and that is Donna Newton.
Thank you.
Can you
I
pass her
haven't, I've only been here a year and a half. Can you not hear me? Usually people tell
I'm
me to get
listening.
quiet. So I've only lived here a year and a half. My husband and I moved in June of, this is 22, so I guess June of 20. And I have to say this, we are so grateful to the Masons and Eastern Star for this community. This is the best decision we've ever made. And Bob agrees with that entirely. So we love being here. We think it's a wonderful community. It's wonderfully managed. And I just want you to know that we appreciate the support of Masons and Eastern Star in this community. Secondly, yes, I am the chair of our activities committee, and we could not do anything close to what we do without community life services. The staff, I will tell you that our committee and many people that we meet outside of our committee say very frequently that they do not know how community life services does all they do. Well, I can tell you how they do it. They run from one activity to the next activity to try to get there to facilitate whatever is going on, not to mention setting it up beforehand, taking it down after, and so forth, and it's just a wonderful committee. But I also have to say that we could say that about virtually every staff member here. My husband and I and everybody that I know is so impressed with the staff in this community. And we thank you for that as well, and thank you, Mark, and your HR staff. Hiring is very important, hiring the right people. So, that said, I did not prepare any comments about activities, so I'm just going to tell you whatever's in my head. First of all, you know about many of the things they do. You know, I'm sure you've heard for years about First Monday, and we have speakers that come First Monday. Recently we've had a presentation about what all is going on and the progress that's being made inside our city and county. We've had a presentation about the Underground Railroad. We're having book authors. We have one who actually lives here and who's speaking. And we've had many, many music programs. And our community loves music programs, so we've done that. We're also, the staff does a great job on games. You know, we play trivia, we play poker, we play just about any game you can imagine, and billiards. And the most fun thing that people, and I don't do this one, my husband occasionally does it, is seated volleyball. And if you walk by this room when there's seated volleyball, the joy that's coming out of this room, they are having so much fun hitting each other that it's a lot of fun. So we have a lot of that going on. We have gotten out of the community some. We've done a couple of boat trips at, and most recently at Smith Mountain Lake, which was wonderful. And we are going to get out more in the coming year. Also, we're doing Tanger events, offering Tanger events to our residents. And next year, we already have plans for visits outside of the county. For instance, we might go to Abingdon, Virginia for theater and you know, a weekend there. So we're going to do that kind of thing. I guess I would say the most recent things are these. Number one, the pool opened. People were absolutely, George didn't want the pool open, but the rest of us did. So we fought him over it, right? Got the pool open. And the use of the pool is slow now, but it is picking up, and I think they've had like 53 sessions or something like that in the pool thus far. But also, we've had we've started some resident-led programs. One is Box and Burn, which is an aerobic program that I do not miss because it's so good for and it's only 20 minutes. But we do that 3 times a week, and Bob Delafano and Robert Bentley lead those programs, and it's just a wonderful, short, but wonderful aerobic workout. Also, we have Saturday night at the movies. which is resident-led, and, you know, we show a movie. Probably we've seen the movies 5 times before, but it doesn't matter. We come and we socialize and we see the movie again. Another program that we've started is and this was requested, several people actually came to me about this. We have a resident-led dementia caregivers group. And the people who come to that are regular attendees. And if you could hear them speak about how helpful that has been to them. And, you know, it's not like we're teaching them, we're sharing our experiences. It's a place for people who understand what it's like to be a caregiver or with others who are caregivers, and we can share our experiences, and it has been very helpful to many people, and so I'm thrilled about that. So that's what we're doing, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Did I miss anything, Joanne? By the way, Joanne got me into this.
Good going, Joanne.
Good job, yes.
Yes,
Thank
thanks,
you.
thanks,
Thank you
Donna.
so much.
That's great. The next committee is the auxiliary committee, which is really just getting going again after the pandemic. And once again, Joanne Cox is the chair.
Okay. I don't need to keep this job, but I'm looking for somebody to follow me. Right now, we have 15 active members of the auxiliary, and we have restarted staying at the reception desk on weekends from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock on Saturday and Sunday afternoons. Then none of our staff is there at that time. So we fill in and greet people and tell them what they answer their questions and so. So the other program that is being started is a visitation program. And most of the volunteers of the auxiliary have one or more residents that they call on regularly. And this is a very, very valuable program. We're always looking for additional volunteers to help out on this. There are residents that live there that don't have a lot of family, don't get a lot of visitors, and just have somebody come in and say, hey, how are you? So, in the planning stages right now, we're going to participate in some Christmas caroling. We're going to help with the family Thanksgiving dinner at Wisteria, and we're going to assist in being Santa Claus to the residents. There's an angel tree at the CWC, and each resident ends up with not a little shopping bag, but a big shopping bag of gifts. And it is so much fun to deliver those gifts and help them open them and see their expression. They're just very, very happy, very appreciative of it. So I guess that, one thing, we are looking forward to opening when we can get back to the original center entrance way and get all that remodeling finished. Thank you.
Yes, that area looks wonderful. I go down there to visit my wife regularly, and it looks ready to go. I guess it's just the inspections, huh, Mark? Okay. Spiritual support, chair is Amelia Kaysen.
The Spiritual Support Committee serves to assist the chaplain in identifying, developing, communicating, and implementing meaningful worship, religious study, and other opportunities for spiritual growth, service, and fellowship. Since the arrival of Chaplain Misty McCadden in August, the following items have been implemented or addressed. An interdenominational Sunday morning worship service has continued each Sunday morning. A brief worship service is being provided for the residents in the CWC and Wisteria. Care notes have been made available to residents, and birthday cards and anniversary cards are given to residents. The prayer request box has been moved from the CWC to be near the chaplain's office with hopes that it will be used. A 9-week Bible study using the book entitled Growing Older and Wiser has been started. An All Saints Day service was held Sunday, November 6th. Deceased residents during the past year were remembered as names were called and a bell was rung. The chapel will be decorated for the Advent season, and an abbreviated hanging of the green service will be implemented on the first Sunday in Advent, November 27th. A memory tree service will be held in the chapel on Friday, December the 9th. Misty is planning a brief worship service with mostly singing on Christmas Day, if desired by the residents. And since Whitestone now has some Jewish residents, Misty is hoping to implement some possible Jewish observances.
Thank you very much, Amelia. Are there any questions for her? Next, we get back to Mark. Is this the board meeting agenda review?
Thank you, Don. Tomorrow we do have another jam-packed agenda for our board meeting with our usual committee reports from Long Range Planning, the Charity Committee, North Carolina Masonic Foundation. Tomorrow there will also be a focus on approving the 2023 operating budget for Whitestone. That'll probably take up a good majority of our time. Then we'll also receive some resident reports. Members of our management team will report on the activity within their departments, and then an update from LCS and Mark Collada. So jam-packed agenda, which will be followed by a board lunch provided by Mark Collada and LCS from Stamey's as well.
Any questions for Mark? Board member comments, any comments, anything you need to say, we would be glad to hear.
That's a loaded question.
They're not following up on it, though. Okay.
Don?
Yes, Joey.
Many of you have heard me say this before, and I will continue to say this. The investment that the committee chairs, your committees, and your residents make into making this home a home is just wonderful. The engagement is there. Each time I drive through the gate, they alert Mark, so I'm usually escorted around. But it does feel like community and home and friends and fellowship when you walk through those doors. And it's because of each of you. And I thank you for your investment in Whitestone.
Thank you, Joey. Any other comments, questions? If not, then...
I can't let this group go without speaking.
Thank
You know
goodness.
that. I'm pretty good at that. But I would just ditto everything that Joey said. You hear from us all the time. But we're just a blessed people to have the family relationships that we have on this campus. Some of us have been coming a lot longer than others. Some have been staying here longer than others. And it's extremely rewarding to me to hear somebody like Miss Donna speak of how she and her husband have only been 18 months, but they're so involved. They've just taken on the mantle of something that is extremely important as you try to figure out how you residential services and all the things that you mentioned. It makes people want to think this is the only place I could ever want to be.
Right.
We have a lady that we've met in the dining room a number of times that tells us that her name escapes me, but she says, "What, Joy? It's like being on a cruise ship. The food is delicious and there's always something going on every day." So to hear those kind of comments is really rewarding. We thank you for choosing to come here.
We thank all of you.
That that's what makes it most important. There is a lot of things going on, so much excitement. The expansion, as was mentioned about how they enjoy the new remodeled CWC rooms. Every time I go through, I just get chill bumps on me, thinking about what it's really going to be like when we get past next April. You know, they say that's been a long time coming. What, 2 years ago, we broke ground, I guess, almost, a little more. And we had no idea that it was going to get delayed, protracted like it has. But all things work for a purpose. And in the end, I think we're going to be very, very pleased. All the staff of Whitestone, Marie and her marketing sales team have just really come alive with keeping this community sold and selling the expansion. And so it's really going to be, it's going to be a pinnacle. We're going to just rise to the top, and it's going to be something that's going to be great. So I look forward to it. I hope all of you do. I'm still going to come swim with George one day, I promise. I told him, he asked me about that the other day. He said, "You wearing bathing suit?" I said, "George, I don't do much swimming after November the 1st, but then we walked in there, it was about 80 degrees.
Yeah,
And the water was river, and I said, so I told Swan later, I said, "I think I'll join you."
Yeah, but you come, I'm bring donuts.
What? What, George?
You come, I'll bring donuts.
Okay, well, we may hold you to that. But thank you again, and thank you to Mark Lewis and the staff, all of the staff, for the wonderful job that they do every day. Only with your help is how that happens. And we don't want to forget our other Mark over here. Besides him going to be around and bring some cherry cobbler or something for lunch tomorrow, he's just very special. He is, we have been extremely blessed with the services that we have from these two men and their commitment to Freemasonry and to this community. So thank you, Don, for all that you do and keeping this committee hurried up.
Gene, it's been 2 years and 1 month under construction.
Is that right?
I just wanted to make sure you did.
Don't forget that extra month.
That's all right.
It's been a while.
1 month.
Well, thank you, Gene, and to all the board members for everything you do to make this place happen. Are there any other comments, questions? If not, we're adjourned. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Good job. You need that for your minutes.